Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Carde from the Learning Commons. I just wanted to let you know that I really miss you, and I miss every day you coming into the Learning Commons and picking out books and me helping you. I can't wait until things start to return back to normal and we can see each other again. So I thought in the meantime that I would read you one of my favorite books that we have in the Learning Commons. And this is my dog Button. He likes read alouds too, so he's going to join us for this one. The book I'm going to read today is called Double Trouble in Walla Walla. It's written by Andrew Clements and illustrated by Salvatore Murdocha. It was an ordinary Monday morning in Walla Walla until Lulu raised her hand in class. Mrs. Bell, I feel like a nitwit. My homework is all higgledy-piggledy. Last night it was in tip-top shape, but now it's a big mishmash. Mrs. Bell said, nitwit, higgledy-piggledy, mishmash. Lulu, stop that flip-flop chitter-chatter or you'll be in double trouble. Lulu said, but I'm not trying to flip-flop chit-chat. I just have an itty-bitty problem with my homework. Mrs. Bell scowled. All right for you, Lulu. If you're going to shilly-shally and dilly-dally with all this fancy-schmancy yak-yak, then we'll just have to trick-trot down to the principal's office. Mrs. Bell hurried Lulu down the hall, and they burst into the principal's office. Mr. Thomas said, what's all the hubbub about? Mrs. Bell said, Lulu's been trying to razzle-dazzle me with some kind of lippity-loppity jibber-jabber, and now I'm all helter-skelter myself. Mr. Thomas raised his eyebrows. Tut-tut, sounds like silly-willy hocus-pocus to me. Mrs. Bell's mouth dropped open. She pointed to the principal and said, Eeka-freeka! Lulu's got your tongue all topsy-turvy too! Now, don't get the jim-jams, Mrs. Bell. Let's give the nurse a yoo-hoo. Mr. Thomas picked up his phone and said, Mrs. Carter, I'm going to pitter-patter over to your office, so okie dokie? All three went across the hall to the nurse's office. Mr. Thomas said, howdy doody, Mrs. Carter. We're a little wacko-wacko. Lulu's got us talking this sing-song claptrap like we're cuckoo. Mrs. Carter smiled at Lulu and said, fiddle-faddle. Lulu and I are palsy-wowsies. She wouldn't try that kind of phony baloney, tutti frutti flim-flam. I hope you're trying not to laugh at home too. Lulu and her teacher and the principal stared at the nurse. Lulu said, wowie zowie. Mrs. Bell said, jeepers creepers. And Mr. Thomas said, holy moly, you're in the same hodgepodge we are. I better give the superintendent a jingle jangle, chop chop. Wait one ding dang tick tock, shouted the nurse. If you chit-chat with the bigwig, then he'll yak-yak like Lulu too. If we're not very, very hush-hush about this, there could be a mongo brain drain, and everybody in Walla Walla will be talking like a herky-jerky ding-a-ling. Then the nurse turned to Lulu. Lulu, let's get to the nitty-gritty. When did all this mumbo-jumbo start? Lulu gulped. She said, in English class, I had an itsy-bitsy problem with my homework, and then zip-zap, Mrs. Bell said talking like this was a no-no. The nurse looked over the top of her glasses at Lulu. Something like this would not just happen willy-nilly. Now, Lulu, think extra, extra hard and tell me what you did yesterday. Well, said Lulu, it was really a humdrum day. I was practicing ballet in my tutu and my little brother Bobo asked me to play on the teeter-totter. We seesawed until Bobo slipped off and got a boo-boo and started to boo-hoo. Mama and Papa came running pell-mell, so I went inside and splish-splashed in the rub-a-dub-tub and then hip-topped into my cuddly-wuddly Betty-Betty. I said night-night to Mama and Papa and Bobo and fell asleep in a snip-snap. That's all I did, honest. Mrs. Carter said, Lulu, it seems to me that you've opened up a knock'em-sock'em wibble-wobble word warp. I usually don't believe in this kind of hoodoo bunko-junko, but if it was going to happen anywhere, it would probably happen right here in Walla Walla. Mrs. Bell said, let's not quibble-quabble, Mrs. Carter. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies from all this razzmatazz. What can we do? We should say all the rootin' tootin' crinkum crankum woolly bully words we can think of. Maybe that will clear the air and close the warp. Worth a try? Asked Nurse Carter. Mr. Thomas said, aye, aye. Mrs. Bell said, let's do-si-do. And Lulu said, uh-huh. Nurse Carter closed the door to her office. Then she turned around and said, Lulu, let's get this harem-scarum show on the road. Lulu stood right up and blurted out, ticky-tacky knick-knack, coochie-coochie coo, hubba-hubba, roger-dodger, ooey-gooey-goo. Mrs. Carter cleared her throat and said, hugger-mugger hobnob, pitter-patter bon-bon, wishy-washy squish-squash, handy-dandy mishmash. Mr. Thomas closed his eyes and started slowly but picked up speed. Eensy, beensy, choo-choo, teeny-tiny, hurdy-gurdy, roly-poly, rag-tag, hurly-burly, riff-raff, rumble-tumble, hip-hop, teeny-weeny, pop-top, namby-pamby, hippy-dippy, hoity-toity, hotshot. And then Mrs. Bell stood up and took a deep breath. Put-put, vroom-vroom, honk-honk, zoom-zoom, zig-zag, clank-clank, slam-bam, fender-bender, ringy-dingy, cling-clang, ring-a-ding, boing-boing, ring-a-ling, zing-zing, bing-bang-boom. Never-never, wig-wom, turkey-lurkey, tom-tom, tootsie-wootsy, tittle-tattle, tee-hee-hee. And then, without warning, words flooded the air. Maybe you can read some of these words yourself. Bozo, yo-yo, heyday, mayday, hokey-pokey, hanky-panky, goody-goody, yum-yum, yummy-yummy, tum-tum, gimme-gimme, gobble-gobble, jelly-belly, dum-dum. Fi-fi, my, rag-bag, tie-dye, beep-beep, ho-ho, paw-paw, do-do, root-a-toot, zoot-zoot, looky-looky, local yoked. And then suddenly, silence. Lulu, Mrs. Bell, and Mr. Thomas slumped into chairs, and Mrs. Carter flopped onto the cot against the wall. Was it over? No one dared to speak. Lulu whispered, Mrs. Carter, may I please have a drink of water? Mrs. Carter sat up and said, of course you may, dear. Mrs. Bell smiled weakly at the principal and said, you were magnificent, sir. Mr. Thomas perked up and smiled at everyone. He straightened his tie and said, I think we've done it, people. Mrs. Carter sat down at her desk and went back to checking over her posture records. Mr. Thomas walked across the hall to his office and went back to the letter he was writing. Lulu followed Mrs. Bell down the hallway and soon had her English homework all straightened out. And after English, it was just an ordinary Monday in Walla Walla. Bye-bye, Mrs. Ding Dong. Ta-ta, Lulu. So I hope you enjoyed that book. Enjoy yourselves, and I can't wait to see you. Bye-bye.